So we continue with our daily reading of Sri Mадхурья-кадамбини. We are in the third text. Third text is very long, not like the first and the second, which is just verses. So far, like yesterday, we read a portion of the third text. And there, you remember the main points? What was the main point in that section? It's telling that what? Bhakti is, it says like Bhagavan manifests by his own will, by his own sweet will. In the same way, his Shakti also manifests in her own will. And also, now we talk about Shakti. Take note. Where the sword Shakti is, then the vrittis of that Shakti will always be there. Yeah, they're inseparable. You're following that? So when there's sword Shakti, then there's the three vrittis of Shakti. Remember? What are these three vrittis? Sandhini, Sambit, Ladini. No. Sandhini, Sambit, Ladini. These are like functions of Shakti. Where there is Shakti, then this function is there. They are inseparable. So these three functions are there. So sometimes a certain function is prominent. You understand? Where there is the activity of existence, like manifesting like existence. That means there's a prominence of that function of what? Now, Sandhini means the existence potency. And then where there is knowledge, that is Sambit. And where there is pleasure, that is Ladini. So when we talk about Bhakti, that is where there is the prominence of this pleasure potency. You understand? So in this third text, so far that we've read, Vishwanath Thakur has mentioned that just like Bhagavan, he manifests himself in this world by his own will. Bhakti also manifests in this world or to the devotee, internally or externally, through the internal senses or external senses. Bhakti manifests herself by her own will. There's no other cause. So then Vishwanath Thakur, he quoting three verses. They're all from Srimad Bhagavatam. So far we've read Gurudev's commentary, and now we're just continuing. And we're up to that point where now Gurudev is starting to explain these verses. Like as Brahman. Follow? Okay, so we continue now to the Gurudev's commentary. He said, in numerous places, Srimad Bhagavatam explains that bhakti manifests without cause and of her own accord. You're following? This is the main point that we're explaining. And he said, not only one place, he said many places. The Bhagavatam explains that bhakti manifests without a cause. What is the term for that one? According to the verse, when you say without a cause. Ahaytuki. And he said, and of her own accord. Her own accord meaning her own will. So, he is quoting this verse that Krishna Chaitanya quoted. And this is from the first canto. Savai kumsam paradharmo yato bhaktir arosaje ahaytuki apatihatta yayatma suprasidati. This is the first verse quoted by Krishna Chaitanya. So, actually this verse, when the sages, when they gathered around, because they know Kali Yuga has begun, and in Kali Yuga, very terrible time, very problematic time in Kali Yuga. And so then they're ascertaining what is the best dharma, what is our duty. So then this shloka came. It said, Sabai Pungsam Paradharmo. He said, the highest dharma, or the highest function, he said, only unconditional devotion to the lotus feet of Bhagavan, who is Adoksaja. Adoksaja means imperceptible. Like by your own senses you cannot see him, you cannot know him. He said, only unconditional devotion or bhakti to the lotus feet of Bhagavan, who is Adoksaja, has been described as the Paradharma, supreme dharma of mankind. Such devotion is unconditional. It arises without any cause. So this is ahaytuki. So that the word ahaytuki, that's the description of this bhakti. That's one, ahaytuki. And he said it is, and its progress is unimpeded by any material condition. So this is the word apratihata. Meaning the material condition cannot disturb this. He said it's like it's always, this bhakti should be always constant. And he said, Yayatma suprasidati. This gives like real satisfaction, real happiness to the Atma. Then Gurudev, quoting the second verse that was quoted by Vishwanath Thakur, said, Yadrich chaya mat kathadu jata shradhastu ya puman nanir vino natish sakto bhakti yogo swasidaha. He who is neither overly renounced nor exceedingly attached to this world, and in whom, by the mercy of my inherently autonomous bhakti, faith has been awakened in the narrations of my pastimes and so forth, that person is qualified for bhakti yoga, and thus attains perfection through this bhakti. Then the third sloka, Asmil loki vartamana swadharmastu mannaghasuchi dhyanam vishuddham apnoti mat bhaktim va yadrich chaya. That person who remains firmly established in the observance of his own dharma, being sinless, even while remaining within his material body, becomes pure. Thereafter, knowledge of Vishuddha Sattva or Vishuddha Tattva, that is knowledge of Bhagavad Tattva and of his own swarupе as my servant, awakens in him, and he obtains bhakti to me, which is independent and causeless. Now, don't be confused. The translations are so long, but just understand these three verses Vishwanath Thakur is quoting to show that Bhagavatam is defining bhakti in this way, that bhakti is independent and she is causeless. So now Gurudev will explain these verses. So Gurudev now said, thus, in these verses and others, like Yadvich Chayaivo Pachida, the word Icha signifies of her own accord, switcha, her own will. In other words, bhakti, the word Yadvicha signifies her own accord. In other words, bhakti arises of her own independent, sweet will. Thus, bhakti has been called a heightened, costless. She is self-manifesting, meaning she emerges of her own volition. Okay, this we're repeating and repeating. You know, from the beginning of this, we read this section, we keep repeating this. Because that is the main point that we're trying to prove. It has been said in Srila Jiva Goswami's Priti Sandarbha, Bhaktir evainam nayati, Bhaktir evainam darshayati, Bhakti vasa purusho, Bhaktir eva bhuyasi. Now this very long Sanskrit text here. Now I'm just reading the English here. Gurudev said the meaning, the purport is that only bhakti brings the devotee near to Bhagavan. Only bhakti grants direct darshan of Bhagavan. And only bhakti controls Bhagavan. Can we think of any other process? Really? Like if you want to come near to Bhagavan, if you want to have direct darshan of Bhagavan, and even controlling Bhagavan, is there any other way? This process of karma or this tapasya or like mystic yoga, they are not capable, not possible. It's only by bhakti. And so that is why bhakti is the principal sadhana to attain Bhagavan. So this is like Gurudev is giving this, establishing this fact that the principal sadhana, when you say sadhana, you're doing activity to attain something. There's a sadhya, sadhya means goal. When you have a sadhya, your activity to attain that is sadhana. So he said, to attain Bhagavan, he said, what is the sadhana? He said, only bhakti. Because really, there's no other way to attain Bhagavan, only by bhakti. In this connection, it is worth deliberating upon the symptom of that bhakti, who by her own bliss makes Bhagavan intoxicated. Did you get that? So we say, we say only by bhakti you can attain Bhagavan. So then Gurudev is saying, therefore, very important to know what are the symptoms of this bhakti, which is very powerful. It can make Bhagavan intoxicated. So it is being explained here that one cannot consider bhakti to be the mundane bliss, intrinsic to the material mode of goodness, as held by the Sankhya-vadis. So we're making a distinction when you talk about bhakti, because we say bhakti means the function of Swarup Shakti where happiness is predominating, right? Ladini. So that is bhakti. So now Guru is saying, don't mistake that this happiness is like this happiness in the material world, even in the happiness in the mode of goodness. Like the happiness of bhakti is so much more than that. So he's saying here that Shruti also establishes this conclusion. Since Bhagavan is complete in himself and thus self-content, he never becomes attracted by the modes of material nature. Did you get that? You understand why he really mentioning like this? Bhagavan is self-satisfied. he's Sachit Ananda. He himself is already happy. So then, how these things in this material world like make him attracted? He'll never be attracted by these things in the material world. Like this. So when you talk about bhakti as that very powerful, it can even make Bhagavan intoxicated in happiness, then obviously that is a happiness beyond this world, beyond the modes of material nature. Neither can bhakti be described as Bhagavat Swarup Ananda, the bliss inherent in Bhagavan's very form, which is the doctrine of the impersonal monists, who experience the bliss of impersonal Brahma. If that were so, then it would not be possible to establish the greatness of bhakti over that bliss. Bhagavan desires the bliss of bhakti more than he desires the bliss inherent within himself. Did you get that? Like we say Bhagavan is Sachit Ananda. Within himself, he is happy. He has that happiness. His form makes everyone happy also. But he said, he's already happy, but bhakti is so great. You know, bhakti is giving like special happiness to Bhagavan. So that happiness given by bhakti is actually distinct from that happiness that Bhagavan himself is relishing on his own, by his own swarup. You understand? Like, you know, these Brahma bodies or Maya bodies, they try to merge in the form of impersonal form of Bhagavan. So that is like trying to relish the happiness of Bhagavan Swarup. But bhakti is more than that. Bhakti is actually like, as we mentioned, this Ladini Shakti is a very special function of Shakti that Bhagavan is actually himself is searching. Why? Because this involves active like loving relation. So this is more than that happiness that Bhagavan himself is just relishing on his own. You know, like his own swarup itself is full of happiness. But bhakti is from Bhagavan's Shakti that Bhagavan himself is hankering. You understand? So he's saying here that neither can bhakti be described as Bhagavat Swarupananda. So he said this Bhagavat Swarupananda, that happiness of Bhagavan's own swarup, that is, bhakti is not that. Bhakti is more than that. Because Bhagavan, although happy by himself, actually becomes more happy by this bhakti. So bhakti is also not the happiness inherent in the living entity's constitutional nature. So when you say bhakti, being Ladini Shakti, bhakti is also not Jiva Swarupananda, not the bliss within intrinsic in the Jiva's nature, in his swarup. Since that bliss is extremely minute and consequently Bhagavan cannot become overpowered by it. You understand? He said the Jiva is minute. His swarup, some aspect of bliss also there in his own swarup. But that is so minute that itself cannot satisfy Bhagavan. That cannot attract Bhagavan. So, but bhakti attracts Bhagavan. So this Swarup Ananda of the Jiva, that is not bhakti. Understand? So here clearly Buddha is explaining, bhakti is not Bhagavan Swarupananda, is not Jiva Swarupananda. Understand? And what is bhakti? This is Ladini Shakti. This is directly from, this is the function of Swarup Shakti where Ladini is predominant. And what is that? Meaning love. In essence, really, the loving relation, disturbing. In this way, Bhagavan becomes satisfied. and the jiva also becomes satisfied. Thus we become happy. So it is said in the Vishnu Puran, Ladini Sandini Samvir, Tvaya Eka Sarva Samstito, Lada Tapa Parimishra, Tvayi no Guna Varjite. O Bhagavan, you are the shelter of everything. Three energies intrinsic to your swarup, Ladini, Sandini and Samvir, they exist permanently and resplendently within you, the omnipotent Lord. You are devoid of the material modes of nature. Neither mundane joy, nor misery, nor mixtures thereof are present in you. So that's a verse from Vishnu Puran. Now this is not the verse. This is not a verse quoted by Vishwacharya. Gurudev quoted this in his explanation. So Gurudev said, according to this evidence from the Vishnu Puran, the only bliss that remains after mundane bliss in the mode of goodness, after Bhagavan's intrinsic bliss and the inherent bliss of the living entity, is the bliss arising from Bhagavan's intrinsic potency or Swarup Shakti Ananda, named Ladini. You understand? So you can find some happiness, some bliss somewhere. First, in this world, there's some happiness. In the material world. Bhakti is, so that one is not bhakti. Okay. The jiva in his own swarup, also some little bliss is there. But that is not bhakti. That is not powerful to attract Bhagavan. Even Bhagavan's own form, which is Ananda also, that one, already Bhagavan is tasting. But Bhagavan hankers for more. That one is not bhakti. Okay? So what is bhakti? The Gurudev is telling, bhakti is Swarup Shakti Ananda. This is, and it has the name Ladini. This is the happiness arising from Bhagavan's Swarup Shakti. This is because it is only through this Ladini Shakti that Bhagavan experiences his own intrinsic bliss. By the ecstasy of this energy, he relishes a special delight. It is through this Shakti that Bhagavan bestows bliss on the Bhaktas. So two ways. By this Ladini Shakti, and that's why it's called pleasure potency, Bhagavan becomes happy, and his devotees also become happy. So now a doubt may arise. Since that Ladini Shakti permanently exists within Bhagavan, how can he possibly be overwhelmed by his own Shakti? Did you get that? So there's something that we have to differentiate. No. Because here we're telling this bhakti is Ladini Shakti, the Swarup Ananda of Swarup Shakti. This is not Bhagavan's own Swarup Ananda. This is not the Jiva's Swarup Ananda. Also, this is Janananda. So then, but this Swarup Shakti is always with Bhagavan. So now the question is, so this Ladini Shakti permanently exists within Bhagavan. So how can he possibly be overwhelmed by his own Shakti? So to remove this confusion, the following line of reasoning is to be considered. By the application of Arthapati Praman. You still remember the different types of Praman? There's Arthapati. What's Arthapati? Arthapati, which reconciles any apparent contradiction by making an inference from circumstances. It said something illogical can become illogical, can become logical. The Arthapati. What's Arthapati again? you can look in the list of. He said, by this arthapati, what seems illogical can become logical because you're making inference based on circumstances, like reconciling contradictions. Accordingly, it is certainly cogent that an experience that increases Bhagavan's ananda should have some other cause. When that which causes something to happen is absent, and yet that event still occurs, it is to be inferred that there must be another cause at work. This is known as arthapati praman. So, he's telling like this. So, is this the example of someone like still fat, although he's not eating? Huh? That's the one? Look, so like here, example. Like Bhagavan has this experience that his ananda is increased. So then there should be like, oh, there has to be a cause for that. He's already happy, but his happiness is being increased. So then, like, what is the cause of that increase of happiness? So then he said, if you say, if we take out that cause, if we take out that cause that makes him happy, then he will not be happy. But said, even if you take out that cause of his happiness, he's still happy. He said, when that which causes something to happen is absent, and yet that event still occurs, then it is to be inferred that there must be another cause at work. Understand? So then there was the example, when Satpan, he said that he does not eat. And you can see the whole day, he's not eating. And generally, if people will not eat, they will be skinny. But then he's not skinny. He's still fat. So then you can say like, there must be another reason. There must be another reason like why he's still healthy. And so then some people will say, because he eat at night. Like that. But then it's not necessarily. It could be like maybe he got some wound, that he will not be like Sita. Like Sita never ate, and then but she still remain healthy. So when you talk about Bhagavan, for example, Bhagavan by nature is happy. But okay, we disregard. Like, because we say, oh, he is happy by himself. By himself is happy. But okay, we take out that like happiness by himself. Then he said like, oh, there is still another cause because he's still happy. Let's really give him more example. So for example, Devadatta does not eat during the day. Yet he is well built. Okay, given that he does not eat during the day, it is deduced through arthapati praman that he must necessarily be eating at night. Applying the same reasoning, although it is impossible for Ladini to give more bliss to Bhagavan than the bliss existing in his own form, he nonetheless does receive more bliss from her. This seeming contradiction can, however, be resolved by applying arthapati praman. Here it is to be noted that only Ladini Shakti can give bliss to Bhagavan. No one else can. Are you following this logic? Bhagavan already is expressing happiness in his own form. So you may say, no, not possible for anything else to give Bhagavan happy because he's already happy. But then we say, just like someone, he is not eating but he's healthy. So we say, like, not possible that he's healthy because he's not eating. No, possible. So then, the same way, it says like, oh, Bhagavan, he's already self-satisfied. But then, Ladini Shakti still gives him more happiness. So that seeming contradiction is resolved by this kind of praman. Here it is to be noted that only Ladini Shakti can give bliss to Bhagavan, no one else. So this is a specialty of Ladini Shakti. Nothing else really can give happiness to Bhagavan, only this Ladini Shakti. Bhagavan is actually experiencing a bliss that is impossible for him to experience through Ladini. Did you get that? That Bhagavan is actually experiencing a bliss that is impossible for him to experience through Ladini. That is, he experiences a bliss he necessarily cannot get from her. Therefore, it is certainly logical that there must be some other cause of his experiencing his ananda. This conclusion is reached in much the same way that it was deduced that Devadatta eats at night. Indeed, it is Ladini in a different form that bestows this profuse ananda upon Bhagavan. This is understood through Arthapati Praman. Understand that? Okay, he's saying here, Bhagavan experienced bliss that he necessarily cannot get from Ladini. So how is that? Because here he is experiencing bliss on himself. He is experiencing bliss on himself. So not necessarily he needs the bliss, or to experience bliss necessarily he needs Ladini. But what is the same condition as Devadatta? That Devadatta, he is not eating, but he is healthy. And why? Because he said he may be eating at night. So here one may say like, oh, he said there must be some other cause of Bhagavan experiencing Ananda. Aside from experiencing Ananda by himself, and said, which also this Ladini not necessarily cannot give to Bhagavan, or he said he experienced a bliss that he necessarily cannot get from Ladini. But he said that bliss is indeed Ladini in a different form, and bestowing profuse Ananda in Bhagavan. So then let's just continue reading. In conclusion, it is none other than the abundant, all blissful, eternal function of that Ladini which is impelled in the heart of the Bhakta, that is designated as Bhagavat Priti, or love for Bhagavan. Thus, when the Swarup Shakti, with the assistance of Swarup Shakti, the Bhakta, attain a special state that reaches the pinnacle of Ananda, it is known as the abundant, all blissful, eternal function of Ladini. Experiencing that affection in the heart of the devotees, Bhagavan reciprocates accordingly by becoming the object of their affection. Did you get that? So now, here, we can appreciate how very systematic Gurudev explains this. Because generally we just say, okay, like we're talking something in terms, just like theoretical. Like, oh, Bhagavan is happy, becomes happy by Ladini Shakti. He has Swarup Shakti, and then, Ladini, the pleasure potency. But he said, but not necessarily like Bhagavan is experiencing like happiness from a different form like of this ladini. So what is that? That is when this ladini, this pleasure potency takes shape as the devotees. You know? And then by the love of the devotees, then this special like abundant like, expression of like love, giving Bhagavan's this happiness, special type of happiness. Look, let me read this. So when the Swarup Shakti, Ladini, now take note, when you say what's Ladini again, that is the function of Swarup Shakti. Okay? So when that function of Swarup Shakti, which is predominantly for giving happiness, said when the Swarup Shakti, with the assistance of the Bhakta, which is really also part of Swarup Shakti. You know, the Bhakta is part of Swarup Shakti also. So, he said, when this Ladini, with the assistance of Bhakta, attains a special state that reaches the level, the top, the pinnacle, like the limit of happiness, that is known as the eternal function of Ladini. The very abundant, all blissful, eternal function of Ladini. So, this is what. Now, why are we talking about this? We should like think about this. Like, why Gurudev explain like this? Because he's showing the speciality of bhakti. You know, he's showing the speciality of bhakti. Bhakti is so powerful. It's like it's unique in itself, like in herself. You know, bhakti is unique in herself. Bhagavan is self-satisfied, but by bhakti even overpowers Bhagavan. And bhakti has her own independence. So first, he is differentiating bhakti from happiness in the material world. No. He's also differentiating this bhakti from the own happiness within the swarupе of Bhagavan. That itself is not bhakti. Bhakti is so much more powerful. Also, he's differentiating bhakti from the inherent happiness within the jiva as an atma, meaning the swarupananda of the jiva. That itself also is not bhakti. So what is this bhakti? He said, oh, this is a very special function of Swarup Shakti. But especially when this function of Swarup Shakti that gives pleasure is getting the assistance of the devotees. Like the actual devotees who have this bhakti. When this Swarup Shakti is getting the assistance of the devotees, and it culminates in this happiness, that is that Ladini, which really Bhagavan is like overpowered. That is now, in essence, like giving us an idea of like what is this nature of this bhakti. As stated previously, bhakti is Bhagavan's Swarup Shakti. Bhagavan's Swarup is composed of Satchit and Ananda. Consequently, his spiritual energy has three functions: Sandini, Sambit, and Ladini. Okay, so this is just a repetition. It's important to repeat this, then you'll understand. Really repeating this. So the energy related to existence is called Sandini. Through it, Bhagavan maintains the existence of himself and others. Okay, so what is that? What is that? Which aspect of Swarup Shakti? Sandini. Then, the energy related to knowledge, Gyan, what is called? Sambit. Through this, Bhagavan, he knows himself and makes himself known to others. Okay, so this is the, like how this Sambit potency is like operating. What is the result of Sambit potency? He said, by this Sambit potency, Bhagavan knows himself and he is known by others. You know? So because this is knowledge potency. Then the energy related to bliss, to Ananda, is Ladini. This is what we're talking about. Through it, through this Ladini, Bhagavan personally experiences Ananda and grants Ananda to others as well. Okay, that's clear, no? Now, we proceed to the next part of the verse, of the text. At times, certain highly enlightened personalities have also interpreted the word yadrichcha to mean by the awakening of some good fortune. But if yadrichcha is interpreted in this way, bhakti's cause is to be considered. Is it brought about by Shubha karma? Alternatively, it is caused by the absence of such deeds. First, if we accept that good fortune is awakened by virtuous acts, then bhakti would be subservient to Shubha karma. This is contradictory to the self-manifesting nature of bhakti. Therefore, that bhakti is awakened by good fortune arising from Shubha karma cannot be accepted. Second, if we suppose that the cause of bhakti is good fortune arising from the absence of any virtuous action, then the cause of that good fortune becomes indescribable and unknown. Such good fortune, having no known cause, falls into veritable obscurity. How can that which is itself utterly undetermined be the cause of anything else? In other words, how can good fortune that is underlying, undetermined, be the cause of bhakti? Okay, so now this is continuation of the previous text. Because look, the previous text describes, what is the description of bhakti according to the verses? It is a haituki, causeless. And also, it said yadrichcha. Yadrichcha means on her own accord, by her own will, it comes. So now, then Vishnu Thakur is giving some Purvapaksha, like opposing statement, or like clarifying some opposing statements. He said sometimes certain highly enlightened personalities, meaning some intelligent people and they're seen to be enlightened, they interpret the word yadrichcha to mean awakening by some good fortune. He said this bhakti, he said this yadrichcha is awakened by good fortune. Okay. But then he said, if yadrichcha is interpreted in this way, then the cause of bhakti is to be considered. You understand? Because he said, oh, by good fortune, bhakti came. So what is the cause? Then there's a cause for bhakti. Good fortune. Now, meaning, when you say good fortune, really meaning some pious activities, shubha karma. That is really what it means. Or you may say, when there's an absence of the shubha karma, then bhakti is manifest. So then, Vishnu Thakur is giving two replies to this. First is that if we accept that this good fortune is awakened by virtuous acts, shubha karma, then what will be the conclusion for that? Then it would mean that bhakti is subservient to shubha karma. Understand? You follow? Because he said, bhakti shradricha, meaning it is the result of someone having good fortune. Okay? And so what is the meaning of good fortune? Meaning, this is the result when you do pious activities, then you become lucky. That's the result. Right? So then now, if you consider that is if that is true, if you accept that, then what happens? Then you are actually making a statement that bhakti is actually subservient to Shubha karma. If you do good activities, good karma, like this, then you attain good fortune and then you attain bhakti. But this is not what the verses have said before. This actually is contradictory to what has been described. Bhakti is self-manifest. Therefore, he said, we cannot accept this. Bhakti is awakened by good fortune arising from Shubha karma. That cannot be accepted. Okay, so that is his first point. Second, if we suppose that the cause of bhakti is good fortune, and where is the good fortune coming from? By the absence of any virtuous action. Then the cause of that good fortune becomes unknown. Like this is very vague statement. Okay, bhakti is coming from good fortune. And what is the cause of this good fortune? If it is not Shubha karma, it's like, by the absence of Shubha karma. So then what is that? It's like, it's not clear. It's undescribable. It's like it's unknown. So that is also unacceptable.
Shubha karma and seva, they are two different.
No, but when you talk about seva, especially when we talk about like bhakti, we say seva. That seva is for Bhagavan, and giving happens to Bhagavan. Shubha karma, actually, when you use the term karma, meaning fruited action, some fruit you're expecting from it. Many people, they're doing Shubha karma, many people, they're feeding people, giving food. Like in our Chaitanya Shishamrita, there's a whole section there, like all these pious activities. Even giving light on the street, like making all these like water pumps, like that. These are all Shubha karma. This is very auspicious, auspicious activities. It will give good results.
But that same Shubha karma is for the devotee. Then it becomes the same.
Then, yes. So, that is one thing. But that Shubha karma is not the cause of this someone having bhakti. It becomes a cause when it serves the devotee. When it serves the devotee. So then, that Shubha karma is not the cause. It's actually the devotee. Understand? Because you can do Shubha karma, but without relation to the devotees, it will never lead to bhakti. The only that particular activity was able to lead to bhakti is because of the devotee. And the devotee has bhakti. Because of the bhakti in the heart of the devotee, then he said that one is beginning to get contact with his bhakti shakti. Then you get attention of Bhagavan, also that you get the mercy of the devotee. Now, this will be explained more. Because here, what is being established here is bhakti is self-manifest. The only cause of bhakti is only bhakti. It is never from karma, it is never from jnana. That is like what is being established here. It's a whole long discussion now, but Gurudev is just like little by little, like putting the pieces together. Because if you say you're doing good fortune, you're doing all this like karma, good karma, whatever good karma you're doing, that will not lead you to bhakti. Now, if you say, by doing good karma, I became a devotee, that's only because that activity in doing karma became a seva to a devotee. That itself then became a little become like a sukriti that leads to bhakti. Ultimately, what brings you to bhakti is the bhakta. Who has bhakti? We will explain this more, there's no more time. Let's continue tomorrow. Jai Shri Gurudev Ki Jai, Krishna Thakur Ki Jai, Shri Proekты Bhakta-bandhав.
Bhakti Bhakti Samjaya Sanjaya.